Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Geek Life podcast. I'm Scott and this is Jarrell. And today we are going to do a review on the TV show Shogun. And this one kind of came out of nowhere for me when I didn't really know really much about it at all. I just saw that it popped up and I saw the trailer for it and I was like, it looks pretty good. And I think there's like 2 trailers, and as I checked them and I was like, yeah, this actually looks really, really good. It has the guy from The Last Samurai. I forget what his name was in it, but I'm like, okay, it's worth checking out. I thought I'll give it a try and see what and then I saw, whenever I see reviews of stuff, until I've kind of like maybe researched a little bit more or whatever like that, I try not to know too much about the show. And so this one is a little spoilers on this podcast, but I think for me it's just I don't really know too much, but also I kind of want enough to know if I don't know anything about the show, just because there's so many TV shows now that I want to know if it's like decent. Like, so if you or Jeremy watched something and you're like, hey, you got to like check out this show, and I'm like, okay. You know, I mean, like I might bump it up the list if I know if it's like a really good show to like check out. That's usually how I gauge stuff, because like between like Disney Plus, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Prime, all that kind of stuff. It's just like there's just like an
ever-growing list.
List. Because I was on Apple TV. I was on Apple TV recently, and I saw that there was like these shows with like incredible casts, and I was like, I've never even heard of this. Like, there's one like Gary Oldman, like something about horses or slow horses or something like that, and I was like, I don't know. And then you come across some stuff, and there's one that has like Chris Evans is in something, and then all these
hijack. Remember?
Yeah,
that was good.
Yes, yeah. So it's just like there's just so much, and there's only so much time, right? So you're just like, there's all these shows, and so when I came across Shogun, I was like, And then someone was talking about it on YouTube, and then I was like, yeah, you know what? Check it out. Give it a shot. So, and then I think I got you into watching it.
Yeah. No, like I like when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks really good. And like, I knew that it was like it looked like it was going to be very heavy, like Japanese cast. And I didn't know if it was going to be all done in Japanese, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And
or mostly,
yeah, with some English translations or whatnot, but like it was just really looked like a good high production show, and not only that, like it's just cool to see like samurai shows are really cool to come by. Yeah. And like the main character, the guy Hiroyuki Sanada, he ends up playing. He's in a lot of like different movies that you see. He's also the Japanese head in John Wick 4.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, he's been in quite a few movies, and he's also Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, the one that came out recently too. So was
he?
Yeah, he's in a lot of movies.
I didn't know that. Huh.
So, but yeah, no, it looked like a really good high production quality show, and I watched the first episode, and it didn't grab me at first, but then you told me to stick to it, so I did, and then ended up watching the whole thing, and it ended up being great. I really enjoyed the series.
Yep.
A lot more. It was interesting because it was a lot more cerebral and a lot less action heavy than I was expecting it to be, which was cool and surprising that it was engaging in that way, almost like unexpectedly so, right? So,
yeah, I also agree. Like my general thoughts, I think the show is really, really well done. I'm looking forward to where they're going to take the show, season 2, season 3. I don't know how many seasons they're planning on doing, but I thought that the show really grew on me. The main character at first, who's John Blackthorne. I didn't really care for his character at first.
Yeah,
I didn't know where.
Voice.
Yeah, it's just something about him I didn't really care much for, but I really liked Sanada's take with like Yoshi Toranaga, and I really liked the fact that like he has that presence about it. And then what I always liked about, I don't know if this is how it actually is in real life, but based on, you know, that Japanese culture and stuff like that, there's always been something, there's always like that stoic aspect to their character, and like how a lot of times there's not a lot of facial expression. That's just underlying stuff, something similar to, where in Godfather, when they're saying niceties, but at the same time, what they're actually, what's actually underneath, is like, they actually, they're like, I'm going to kill you later. That's something that you see in this show, right? Where they say like certain polite things, but what they're actually saying is that there's like ulterior motives to everything that they say. So this one is very much, and I've heard of people talking about this as being something similar, akin to say like a Game of Thrones, where there's like political intrigue, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and you don't know what's happening or who's pulling the strings in terms of this, is whose plans are we looking at right now, and there's that level of intrigue, because I think that's what one of the reasons why, say, Game of Thrones has done so well, is the fact that there is like a lot of those intrigue, especially in the first few seasons. Is it's not like not a lot of action going on, but just a lot of manipulating, conniving, and and like setting things in place, almost like a game of chess. And I feel like that's what Shogun is. Yeah. Right. Like there's just like certain pieces on the chessboard that are moving in intricate ways, and you're trying to find out, well, what's happening and stuff like that. And I feel like you have these different pieces, right? And so as you're going through the show, like you don't really know what's going to happen.
I think, I agree with you 100% there. And the cool thing too is it's bringing a lot of like what I think might have been like the culture back then, and the importance of, I would say even now, like the importance of duty and honor to the family, right? And to the, like, their duty to their liege lord, and the way that they're, like, some of them are so willing to throw away their lives so for the sake of honor.
Yeah.
And it's introducing, like, especially people like us in the West and stuff like that, to these kind of things that don't resonate or aren't as, might think we might be throwing away, like kind of a throwaway kind of situation. Of course, we believe in honor and duty and stuff like that, but not like to the extent of some of these people who are willing to, like in spoiler episode 1, where he killed, like after he dishonored, after that guy dishonored Toranaga, he ended up killing himself and his son to end his bloodline. Like that's not even something that would cross our mind. And just, it's cool because Blackthorn's character kind of becomes our gateway into that world. And like, his reactions to them, like the guy, like for example, like when they killed the gardener for getting rid of the bird, because he said,
if anyone moves it, they're gonna die.
They're gonna die. It was like, it's just like he goes like, what the heck is wrong with you people, right? Or when in the first episode where the guy, when he fell off the cliff and was gonna cut himself in the belly because he'd rather die than I guess be swept into the ocean, and it earned his respect because it's just something that's so alien to him. And it was really cool to kind of bring us into that world. Yeah. Versus like, kind of what we're used to here in the West and our culture and stuff like that, right?
And I feel like the show wouldn't have that impact if there wasn't a John Blackthorne kind of character. And again, like this is like we're getting into spoiler territory here. Right. But the idea is that his character really is that blank slate. Like he has an idea of how things in a civil society go, and this is not it, right? Yeah. And like the way you people of Japan's or something. I forget how he says it or whatever. But the idea is that as you're going through it, you are experiencing things from that particular lens, for sure. And I think that he begins to adapt their way of living as the show progresses, and he becomes more he kind of takes on a lot of the traits that the Japanese people did during that time. And so I think that his character is really, really important for as we're going forward through the series, is that he has a level of expertise when it comes to their ammunition and their cannons and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, I didn't know how they were going to portray John Blackthorne's character, because there's a lot of ways that they could have gone with him. But I think that the fact that he becomes more, as opposed to being English, he becomes more in favor of the Japanese way of life in a way.
Well, yeah, a little bit more.
He's still apprehensive of some of the practices that they had, but overall he adapted a lot of the things that that he was, because even there's that one scene towards the end where he sees his fellow shipmates that that he has changed so much that he no longer identifies as them anymore, and so he kind of he fights the one guy and bails. Right. So
because it's just because like it's and it's cool to see because like he can also see it from the other side where people are thinking that he's being bestowed all these honors and stuff like that, but he's able to see it as a prison that it is, right? Like he's being held hostage against his will.
Yeah.
And like and there's a lot of truth to that, because even though sure he's getting like these high praises from Toranaga and getting like the high title of what Yabushige or whatever it was called, but like he's getting all these honors bestowed upon him and stuff like that, but he was seeing it as like I'm not really free. I'm still within the confines of this culture, and I'm still being held against my will. And I really like, and I think that's the thing, right? Because his viewpoints are a lot more similar to our viewpoints, and being able to see that, like you said, being that doorway to that culture, and seeing some of the aspects that really resonated with him. And it's another thing was cool too. Sorry to stop right there, but like when he starts off, when you meet him first, you don't think that he's much, but he actually has a lot of he does have a lot of those noble characters inside of him. But because when he shows up in the first show, they're starved, they're ragged, they're sick because they've been drifting in the water and whatnot, right? They're aimless, but
scurvy and all that stuff. Yeah.
But he actually had those characteristics in him. And he adapted some of the Japanese things, but he also had that sense of honor in him. He was looking out for his crew, even during that time. He was in awe of that guy wanting to slit his belly after he understood the meaning of respect and of honor, but they just took it in two different meanings kind of situation. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and it's that the practices are so different from one place to the next, and so the way he was intricately placed and used, as especially in the beginning part with Toranaga, where he just saw him as a puzzle piece. He saw him as a way to kind of stay his execution, right? And so he used the political pieces where they needed this, and then a couple other things that kind of went along with it. But and then he eventually becomes more of a trusted soldier in Toranaga's plan, right? Where at first he's just seen as purely as a pawn in order to do what he's doing behind the scenes. But as it kind of becomes more and more apparent, we see that he has that skill with those weapons of warfare and all that kind of stuff. But then he almost becomes a trusted confidant, and then the fact that he saves his life, I think twice. And so all that kind of stuff is that you see more and more, kind of see that Blackthorn is not who he initially appeared to be, right? And then the other character that I really liked was Mariko. And as the translator between the two, I thought that was a really intriguing, interesting way of having it, because she knows Portuguese because she's Christian, and then he knows Portuguese as well, and so the fact that they were able to talk to each other and almost, because there's no one else really around that was able to speak Portuguese, and he didn't know Japanese, but he slowly, and that was another intriguing thing, is the fact that as time went on, he learned more and more of the language, and that was a kind of cool thing, and they were taking back a few characters, taking back with the fact that he could talk to it. Yeah, he's like, he's a savage guy. Yeah. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then obviously the relationship that happens between them, they don't really say it in the show, but they're kind of falling in love with each other and stuff like that. And then the things happen as a result of that. But even within that, it's because she's married, or I don't know, it's her husband didn't actually die. But the fact that, and this is so, foreign, especially in today's day and age where Mariko's husband has supreme power over his wife, and the fact that Toranaga is well, you can do whatever you want with your wife, right? But yeah, I thought that was really eye-opening in terms of how we view things today, and then how that all played out. But I think though that relationship between the three of them, the Blackthorn, Mariko, and Toranaga, and then how all of that kind of played out, I thought was really masterfully done. I think in a lot of ways.
I like to add something to what you said, and I think it's really like I'm kind of going towards the end of the series already because so much stuff was revealed at the end.
Yep.
I feel like he still didn't necessarily see John Blackthorn as necessarily a useful ally, but just still a piece in the game that he plays, Toranaga. Because he, like, at the end,
You think he still doesn't trust him?
no, and I think that's why he keeps burning he says he'll keep burning the boat to keep him there because he's going to always keep him there to manipulate him, to use that manipulation. But like,
Right.
so much about Toranaga comes out at the end, and you kind of see it throughout the whole show. But at the end, his conversation with Yabushige, right before he's going to kill him,
Yeah.
like, there's so much in that scene that just, like, that part blew my mind. Because in that scene, Yabushige is like, you knew all along all these things were going to happen. So everything that was happening in the background, he knew Mariko was going to, like, kill herself or do what it took so that the, like, the war will happen to, like, so that they'll release the hostages and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then also, there's a quote that he says about to Yabushige is like, why tell a dead man, like, the future, right? And if you remember in the first episode, his nephew, the nephew who ends up being like his kind of his successor, like Yabushige's.
Yeah.
Yabushige like told him to say not to tell Toranaga about like what was happening, because why tell a dead man about the future, because he thought that Toranaga was going to die right away. So in that way, it kind of shows that the nephew was actually working with Toranaga the entire time and not with Yabushige. And then the other crazy part about it is that means that because he was working with him the entire time as a mole, if how I'm reading this is correct, is that Yabushige, is that Toranaga knew that the nephew was going to tell his son to attack the people, like,
the envoy or whatever it was,
to start the war.
Yeah.
So it's like, just from that last scene, you see all these things connecting. You're just like, what the heck is happening? And then when you see him about to cut off his head and he breaks a smile, it's just like, he knew everything that was going to happen and planned everything and placed everybody accordingly.
Yeah.
So it ends up being like, you end up seeing him in a different light, because it's like, yeah, he says that he didn't want to be the shogun. He didn't want to be the head of everything, right? But did he just say that because it was at that time? And did he manipulate everything to happen the way it was supposed to so that he can get to that point?
So here's my thought. Okay, did you ever watch Godfather films?
Yes.
Okay, so Michael Corleone, and in the beginning, in the first film, he was apprehensive. He didn't want to be a part of the family, right? He didn't want, but he eventually changed, especially after the death of his father. But it was a change that happened in the midst of his character. Do you think part of the thing is that Toranaga, maybe in the beginning stage, was maybe a little bit more innocent, but as time kind of went on, maybe something happened behind the scenes, because obviously the emperor or the shogun's son was kind of entrusted to him, right? And then whatever happened kind of there, so that they had the five different leaders, five leaders.
Yeah, the five counselors or whatever, right?
Yeah,
to help to watch out over the
to divide and conquer kind of thing. Do you think that there was a shift, and maybe we haven't seen it necessarily yet? Like, obviously he was betrayed by the other members, and that, there's that one guy, I forget what his name is.
Ishido.
Ishido, yeah. Ishido kind of like wanted him wanted him dead, right?
Yeah.
But
Because he wanted to consolidate power for himself.
yeah, but then Toranaga goes into the camp, goes to the palace, and then now he has to kind of find a way to get out. But as that's all kind of happening, you can kind of see he started to move some chess pieces. But I think obviously, based on what we know now, you can see that now he's kind of moving chess pieces as we go along. But I wonder if it's like, if at one point he was like perhaps like maybe like a Michael Corleone, where he was maybe more of a, not necessarily, because you can see that as time was going on, he was kind of manipulating his own man, even though it was one of his trusted men who eventually killed himself, right? So this is like a crazy show where, yeah, you don't really know because there's so much plots that are happening behind the scenes about what's actually happening. Yeah. Like even the assassin that came in like one of the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes, second episode, where she comes in and says like, I wonder if that was Toranaga's doing too, right? Like we don't know because there's so many different parts of the show where you're just like what's happening and where. And I kind of feel like a lot of those pieces maybe haven't fully been revealed, and I don't think so till season 2. Till season 2 at least.
That's the thing. The book ends there. So there's no season. Like I don't think there's going to be season 2.
There already is a season 2.
No, they said that there wasn't. They said if there's a story they want to tell, they can. But basically, they plan it to be beginning and end, just like the original miniseries, just like the book.
Really?
Yeah. So
I thought I heard that they were making a second one.
But they want to because it was such a hit.
Right.
But then like if you think of like. That's why, and I think that you're like there might be some truth to that. But like, if you think even at the beginning when the assassin was sent to kill Toranaga, but Toranaga put Blackthorn in their room, knowing that Blackthorn was going to be attacked. So if you take all these happenstance stuff that happened from the beginning, and like just the big turn at the end, it's such a that's what made the show so big for me. Because like while I was watching this happening. And I was listening to it. I was like, "Am I just imagining this? Is this something like right?" But like like it was such a great scene when it felt like the turn, because then it made you think like, was Toranaga the bad guy the entire time and just manipulating everything to make it look like he wasn't? Because like when he was told when the old emperor was going to say like, you be the one person who watches my heir. He was like, no, like if you do that to me, they'll all attack me, like they'll all gang up against me, like I'll lose the power. So in this way, he was able to manipulate it so that he wasn't the one who they were seeing as being the thing of their power, but rather the person they can rally around against the person who's seeking power, which was Ishido. Yeah. So it's like, was he really looking for that power to begin with, but finding a way to do it so that he would be in control in a peaceful way, or in a way that would be most successful for him? Or was it, like you said, like a happenstance where he didn't really want it, but it ended up becoming like that way for him? But if you look at it, like, the way he manipulated it, where he was able to get even the mom of the heir, who was like the concubine who gave birth to the thing, to get on his side, like how much of that was between fate and how much of that was between like because of his plans. So it's really it's so like mind blowing when you think about it. So much twists and turns.
Yeah, I think I have to watch it again actually. Yeah.
So like if you keep an eye on that and just seeing those small things that like that, I think really helps that we read it. Like, we have to read the subtitles, because when you read the subtitles, you catch things a little bit more that you might have run into before, and you kind of see the echoes of it a little bit more. Versus like, when you hear it, because sometimes you'll just take a line like, why tell a dead man the future? Like when I saw it again, I was like, that's what his nephew told him. What he told his nephew in the beginning. So it's almost his way of saying, yeah, your nephew was in this the whole time. Like he was working for me the whole time. It's so crazy.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. I think.
So he's my favorite character, but like, was he the bad guy the entire time? Was he just manipulating it? Was he kind
of like the Godfather?
Yeah. Was it just like, kind of looking at it like, we're looking at it through Blackthorn because we're on Blackthorn's side, and because it looks like he's trying to connect with Blackthorn. Are we being manipulated into seeing it this way until the turn at the very end? Because if that's the case, that's masterful. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I think I got a lot of Godfather vibes from this. Like that's why I keep bringing it up, is the fact that there was like a lot of, it's just like a lot of political intrigue behind the scenes that we may not be accustomed to or know what's really happening.
For sure.
And especially in this time field, Japan, right? And so the when it comes to, I think one of the masterful kind of things is that's was done in it is the fact that Toranaga also knew about what was going on between Mariko and Blackthorn, right? Like he could tell, like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
The husband obviously also knew too something was going on between the two of them, and that relationship between the two. And so, I think this is like when people say, is this like the new Game of Thrones? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say what the new Game of Thrones really is because, Game of Thrones didn't exactly score the touchdown towards the end of it. It continued beyond its source material, which is always dangerous because, you don't know what you're basing it off of, and if you don't really have a clear goal, it's a little bit more murkier.
Right.
Production wise, I think there's no magic involved. It's literally just political intrigue. So it's a lot reminiscent of Game of Thrones season 1, where you don't really see too much magic going on until the dragons at the end or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know, it can stand in its own right. Is it just the same because there's swords involved in it, or because it's a medieval setting?
Yeah.
Or is it or are they saying it's a new Game of Thrones because of the twists and turns in that kind of situation?
I think so. I didn't really hear but in terms of it, I think it's because of the political intrigue. The idea is you don't really know what's happening, that there's pieces moving around, like in Game of Thrones, it would be like someone like Littlefinger, right? But is Toranaga maybe more like Littlefinger in a way, right? So it's just like a lot of these things. It's interesting to look at, like, if they decide that they're going to do season 2. I think there's plenty of stuff they can do in the future. But in your thoughts, like, if they decide to continue with the series, do you feel like that would be a good thing, or do you feel like they should end it here?
I think they should end it here, and that's me being it's me being wary of it going through Game of Thrones thing where it just tells stories for the sake of it, but not have anything
nothing to say.
To it, nothing to say, nothing to add. And we should just be happy for things to end and not run its course. Like, we see this too much in some shows.
Quote all your head.
Huh? Quote all of them in my head? Okay, there's Game of Thrones, there's Star Wars.
Yeah. No, it's like quit while you're ahead.
Quit while you're ahead. Yeah. No, and I agree. Like, you don't have to continue telling the story if what you resolved, what your goal was, you reached at the end.
Right.
And if what your goal was to show,
if the message was sent, you said what you wanted to say.
Yeah. Then again, going back to even, like, I know I'm saying that Toranaga is awesome, and it's true, but like each character is amazing. Like, Yabushige is so interesting because he's willing to, like, he's always wanting to do what's best for him, so he's willing to betray, like, whoever has the best deal. But at the same time, he knows when his life is over. He's not afraid to end his life whenever it's called for. When he's caught, he accepts that, and he's such an interesting character too, because like he's it always seems like he's on an uphill climb. He's always the person that's being manipulated by one side or the other, and it's very real to see him wanting to be the guy who's pulling the strings, but really being the one pulling along, right? Being pulled along. And Toranaga's best friend who ended up killing himself, like, to be able to have that, like, he still believed in him right to the very end, and he killed himself because he thought that Toranaga had lost his way. but Toranaga's resolve was so strong that it's like, no, like I'll let you kill yourself to make it look like I'm weak, but I'm not. That's not my plan. Like my plan is still in motion.
Yep.
And then
That was a hard scene.
Yeah, that was a hard scene to watch. And then just and you're right. There is a relationship between Blackthorn and Toranaga, but it's like I still feel like it's just more manipulation. Like the only reason he kept them was because it makes him laugh. That's what he said. Remember, he told how much yeah. He said like I just keep him around because he makes me laugh because he's different, and it's just by happenstance that all these things seem to happen. And then of course the relationship between Mariko and Blackthorn is so interesting because like you could tell when Blackthorn was telling Mariko about it that she was something about that was very attractive to her, but at the same time you could also see that her life was lived to the point of service to Toranaga in terms of what his goal was, and he was ready to and like that her husband, who I think really did love her, wasn't able to reciprocate or get that love back because he didn't really understand the duty and the purpose of his wife's life and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see. And even at the end when they ended up working together, I thought that was a really cool scene. Like obviously
So here's just something I just thought about. What if Toranaga used Mariko?
He did
to have sex with him and all that stuff?
Oh no, I'm not sure if he did that for that.
But. Or do you think that he knew that there was a possibility of them becoming entangled or having a relationship between the two of them?
It's possible. It's possible. I can't say for sure because I don't really know what the
like. I'm curious. I'm curious if Toranaga, if he was in this control, pulling all the different strings, that he knew, or he put in place to have her kind of seduce him. I wonder if maybe he just said, "Hey, you know what? I want you to go and sleep with Blackthorn."
Could be
something like that. I don't know. That's just a thought.
Their relationship happened like organically because maybe it happened organically as a result of them being put together, or do you think that when he saw it, he was able to take that and use it to his advantage to keep him in Japan versus having another way to keep him there? Because in the end, Blackthorn thought that Mariko was the one who talked to the Portuguese to exchange his life for his boat. But it was really Toranaga who had his boat burned. So it's just like, did he use that relationship as manipulation to keep him there? See, it's crazy, right? Lots of twists and turns. So it's like, it's really like, and I think it does require like additional watches, but I think like just the unexpectedness of a lot of the stuff that happened, even like when it comes to like the relationship between the counselors and stuff like that, and just knowing that they are like the Christian, the Catholic Christian lords were working for the church, and the church is obviously the Catholic Church was using them as a way to make money and stuff like that. And it's just so cool to see those different relationships. But even like the father, that the younger priest, just seeing his being torn between his duty to church and his sincerity about wanting to spread the word of God and stuff like that, and just seeing like that and how politics plays into that too was really cool. So like all the characters had a very, very cool, you had a way to connect with them, or was interesting enough that you were interested to see what would happen. Right. Even he couldn't have planned his son being killed that way. That just almost it just happened. And he ended up taking that and using it.
He had to modify a lot of the stuff as things happen.
Right.
And you could see that there was a regret for his son, right? But he knew he had to keep to his resolve because he knew of his plan, right? And it had to be that way. And he lost one of his good friends and all that kind of stuff, and he lost his son, but he had to remain with that particular thing. And so he said he was sick and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he had another son.
Maybe he was sick, but
and he had another son. And
yeah.
like and these things just fly under the radar because we never think about it, right? But then like of course, like, was he like okay? I'm sure he didn't want his son to die, but like he was able to take, like you said, take the happenstance, use it, and then use it to his benefit, which was crazy. And
he's a good chess player for
Yeah.
sure. And I think that Toranaga was just an incredible actor in all of it.
Yeah.
So like you could just see that there's just you could just as he's watching like from the very first episode to the end, you could see that he had that resolve, right? He knew what was not necessarily was gonna happen, but he had his plan in mind of how it was gonna go down. Obviously, there was a lot of things that had changed as things went on, but the path to go there, even though he may have strayed off a little bit and made adjustments as time went on, because like whether it was the earthquake or
his brother betraying him.
Yeah.
Like how much of that did he know ahead of time too, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. These things could have happened in happenstance, and it's just because he's so well organized and well planned, he has contingencies or is able to think his way out of it, which would be very, very cool, because then you can see his adaptability. Yeah. Or at least, like, again, they never really reveal what's going on in his mind, except the fact that he's very adaptable. But how much of that was orchestration as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Cool. Yeah. This is like one of those things I think I'm gonna have. I'll have to watch the show again, just based on like some of your theories and stuff like that. But you know, if you guys haven't seen it yet, the Shogun, fantastic. It's on FX,
Disney Plus.
Yeah, and really, really well done show. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you have seen it before you're watching this podcast. But you know, maybe you just wanted our general thoughts on it, and you know, I think it's one of the best shows I've seen so far this year
for sure.
Yeah, one of the top. I just finished Fallout, and Fallout was excellent. I played the game, so I have a little bit more background on it. I don't think you've played the Fallout shows, but between Shogun and Fallout, it's looking really good for TV right now.
And we got The Boys coming up soon too.
Boys season 4.
Yep.
Yeah, Boys season 4 coming out. So those are our thoughts on Shogun. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I think, you know, let us know. Do you agree with some of the things that we had said? Is there any other theories you guys have that maybe you heard from the creators of the show that may have said some other things? And let us know down in the comments below. And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Have yourselves an awesome day.
Bye.